Another episode 146 of Tuesdays with Perry. We're going to get Perry to join us in just a second. We're going to talk about Iran, obviously. We're going to talk about the primary runoffs, inflation, the Democrats' chances in the midterms. And briefly, we're going to try to talk about Somaliland and how important Somaliland could be to Israel and to the United States. Thanks for joining us today. As I said, it's episode 146 of Tuesdays with Perry. Let's see if we can't get Perry in here. Perry, are you there? Unmute yourself, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Perry, my friend. How is it down there in sunny Florida tonight?
Well, first, just for the record, I don't have Verizon. That's number one. It was like last week. I mentioned to you and your audience, we got a touch of what is approaching us very quickly, which is the summertime weather cycle. And that's pretty much what we got. We got over my property, the good Lord dropped about a third of an inch of rain on us, and 3-4 streets over, they didn't get a drop. That's what we call Florida sunshine weather in the summertime. So everything is good. Everything is good. The only bad thing is, before showtime tonight, the good Lord decided to play a trick on me, and I don't think you can really make it out. That's a Perdomo I had ready for smoking tonight. It's a champagne.
No. Sorry to hear
So now
that,
I just got to sit inside here in the office and just look at that metal container, that metal tube.
Well, you'll have to wait to light that up for another time. That's all right. All right, so I want to start talking about Iran. I know you did as well. Trump is all talk and no action, you say, on Iran. There are a lot of developments just recently breaking here that the U.S. did attack Iran again, shot down several drones, and shot down another drone launch site. So there is a little bit of slapping going on there, but so far the Iranians are not reacting. So I want to talk about that a little bit with you, and then maybe we could chat about Somaliland as well and the Houthis in Yemen. So about what Trump's doing there, you're not impressed?
I'm disappointed. If we go back 5 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks ago now, when he put this ceasefire into place. Number one, he said 2 weeks. They got 2 weeks to come to the table, negotiate in good faith, in order to put this to bed, or we're going to bomb them back into the Stone Age. Well, that didn't happen 2 weeks later. None of us got our panties in a wad, because we know this is Trump, the master negotiator. And then a couple of weeks after that, they threatened to lock down the Straits of Hormuz. And Bad Orange Man says, no, you got that wrong. I am going to lock down the Straits of Hormuz. And anything you put in the water, we're going to blow out of the water. Well, he did that. But the fact of the matter is, their threats are what's keeping our two destroyers in that position at the mouth of the Straits, and turning tankers and cargo ships around and not letting them pass through. So whether it's the Iranians or whether it's our Navy doing their work for them, the world economy continues to suffer. Last weekend, our neighbors directly across the street from us, whom we're very close to, we sat down and had dinner together. And my neighbor is a Gulf War veteran. He was career Army, mechanized. And he drives a big Ford F-250, and it's a diesel. And he is so upset. And of course, he's a proud Trump and proud MAGA member. But he said, Perry, $5.40 a gallon It is costing me $140 to fill up my truck because he has to drive over an hour to get to work every day. It is costing me almost $300 a week just to go to work. He said, "What the fuck is Trump doing?" And this is a man who has Trump flags in his yard. Okay, this is not a Johnny come lately. And I had to agree with him. I said, it's happening on my side too. My behemoth. I was glad my wife was with me on Sunday. I had to top off the tank, 25 out of a 30-gallon tank, $108. And like my neighbor, I've I've got to sometimes fill up twice a week, and it's not just the cost of gas. You know, we discussed this ad nauseum over the past couple of years, actually 4 years, going back to the dark days of Biden. Everything moves by truck. If everything moves by truck, all goods, all services, and the cost of a gallon of diesel has gone from less than $3 a gallon to approaching $6 a gallon. Well, naturally, the cost of beef, the cost of vegetables, the cost of baby formula, everything is going to go up. And then you add to that, in our state, I almost had a conniption. I found out, now keep in mind, we're a MAGA state. We have a super majority in our state house and our state senate. The minimum wage is going to be $15 an hour, more than $15 an hour, come August or September. The minimum wage for servers is already over $11 an hour. When you look at what it's costing small business to employ people with little or no skills, and nothing against servers, not every server works at Ruth's Chris, okay, or Fleming's. When you have your average server that works at pick your poison, whatever sports bar in the country, and they're making a base salary of $12 an hour, I'm not saying it's happening in every state, but it's certainly happening in blue states. You want to know why your iced tea? I'm not talking about Long Island iced tea. I'm talking about an iced tea is now $4. The owner of that restaurant has to offset his costs. And it goes on and on and on. And all of this can be attributed back to what began on February 28th. All of us thought this was going to be over 30, maybe 45 days. And here we are 4 months later, and we're looking at it not ending. And I don't even want to get into tonight what that could possibly mean in November, because there's going to be a revolt if things don't change a lickety split. So when you bring up the point that, they're throwing spitballs at us and we're knocking them down with a fly swatter, that means nothing to me. That is not going to change the reality of where the world finds itself today. Now, the question you and I need to ask each other is, well, why hasn't he done anything? And there's, we discussed it last week, and now I'm beginning to think it has more to do with what we're not being told when it comes to weapons systems than it has to do with our so-called Arab allies. I mean, the story we're getting, if you listen to Fox or you listen to One America News, Newsmax, The Post, everybody is saying, no, it's because they're begging him not to break the ceasefire. Well, are you more worried about what Sheikh Mohammed is concerned about, or are you more worried about what is being done to your fellow American citizens. And at a certain point, it's going to have to be Trump who shits or gets off the pot because we're all running out of patience.
Yeah.
And you keep saying, he's looking for a way to walk away from this. And I agree with you. But we have said repeatedly, and you have pointed out on your daily show repeatedly, we are fighting an enemy who finds more glory in dying than they do in coming to the table and negotiating a settlement. They don't care. They don't care about living themselves. So they certainly don't care about their countrymen suffering. I mean, the big deal this weekend was, oh, they're finally letting the people of Iran have access to the internet again. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a strange occurrence also that they're able to keep oil under $100 a barrel, but
Mhm.
gas prices still seem to be going up regardless of that. I'm not really sure what the disconnect is. Also, as I mentioned previously on my morning show, is that the gas companies normally hike up their prices this time of year. So I think we're getting a little
Mhm.
bit of a double whammy here.
Yep.
My concern here is that, I mean, if we can negotiate out of this and he wants to negotiate, but again, this can't drag on forever because that cushion of oil that's on the high seas and in storage is going to be gone. And people talk about $250 a barrel oil, and that'll really send things skyrocketing. I think we're going to find ourselves a way out of here, simply because Iran did not or wasn't able to tit for tat here. I think they know that their back is up against the wall, and I think they're going to have to make a deal at some point, whether it's more kicking the can down the road or
Mhm.
hamstringing the Trump administration. That might very well be. But let's shift gears here to an ally that could be effective against at least one of the proxies of Iran, and that's the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And the position of the fledgling country of Somaliland has led their warm water ports there in the Red Sea as a hedge against the Houthi rebels and what they might be doing or think about doing against shipping in the Red Sea. Because right now, Saudi Arabia has a pipeline into the Red Sea, and some of the oil is being able to come across the Arabian Peninsula and be shipped out for those terminals. But the Houthi rebels could still attack that. So you're the one that turned me on to Somaliland, this breakaway region. Israel is going to recognize Somaliland, is my understanding. Do you think the United States is far behind?
From what I understand, we're getting ready to recognize them officially. We're getting ready to put bases there. So, when you look at strategy, um, I think we have somewhere around 180 bases around the world. So when you think about it, and you and I never served, but we have a deep, profound respect for those who do. But I got to ask the question: Is is it necessary to have one more base in the world? Maybe this is the place we have to put one. Maybe we should take some bases out of Europe and reposition, because Somaliland has already proven itself. Its leaders, anyway, have already proven themselves to be, um, I would say, more loyal to our needs, wants, and desires as a country than most of our Arab allies. You know, I've said repeatedly on your show, it's a different part of the world. That part of the world thinks differently than us. And one of the things that we need to recognize is who is willing to die for us. And Somaliland has made it very clear. First of all, it is because of Israel. They were able, they're a fledgling country right now. It was only because of Israel supporting them with intelligence and with arms that they were able to win their so-called independence. And they are now getting support in many ways, both in forms of military and civilian aid from the United States. We have the CIA there. That's no secret. So when you look at that, and I compare them and their foreign policy with that of our other Arab allies, they are proving themselves to be the ones we can really depend on in that part of the world, other than Israel. And that's really important.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how things continue to develop between our two countries. But yeah, Israel made news several months ago when they officially recognized Somaliland as an independent nation. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. But you've already touched on it tonight. They have been very effective at thwarting the goals and desires of the Houthis. And they've kind of like um, there's another Arab fighting force, the Kurds. They've proven themselves to be incredible fighters, very much like, but not. I don't think anybody in that part of the world can accomplish so much with nothing more than an AK-47, other than the Kurds.
Yeah.
But the Somaliland is proving to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens.
Don't don't let the Kurds hear that you called them Arabs. I think they take offense to that.
I'm stand correct. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Right.
That
Nor
was a slip of the tongue.
right. You'd never call a Turk an Arab either. They'd cut your friggin'
Never.
balls off. Um, and we'll get to the cutting of the balls off with this next topic here. I know we're going to flip back to America here with the cost of living. You're saying that inflation, while real, is still temporary if and only if Trump finds his balls. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean, we're having some uptick in inflation, but if you look at the economy, it's still very good signs.
Yeah, look, the stock market just hit another record high this week. Many things are going in the right direction, but Rudy, it still comes back to kitchen table economics. And if Ma and Pa Kettle feel like they're hurting, it doesn't matter how much you tell them. No, no, you don't understand. Things are really good. Yeah, they may be good for you guys in your Hugo Boss $5,000 suits, but for me on Main Street, I'm eating scraps. I'm eating hamburger helper while you're having Wagyu beef. So things ain't as great as you make them out to be. And this is something starting with Trump and working all the way down to candidates for office, not even office holders running for reelection on our side of the aisle. We better pray that the Democrats continue to not find a path to victory with the way they are running their campaigns, because even Tallarico has a chance to win if things do not turn around for people. And so when I say he's got to find his balls, it goes to, you better find a way to end this and open up the Straits of Hormuz, whether it means you have to bomb them back into the Stone Ages or you have to do something even more drastic. Whatever it takes, within the first 48, 72 hours of the campaign back in the early days of March, they were trying to escape. They were trying to run to Russia. They were trying to run to China. They couldn't get out. And that's the reason why a lot of the top leadership died. And it had a lot to do with the Mossad knowing exactly where everybody was going to be at a certain time. And they dropped the bunker buster on them, and that was the end of that. Well, we're now down to the fourth or fifth rung of leadership. And if you look at what's going on in Tehran, you and you and I have had these discussions before. You have the civilians, you have the military, and then you have the Ayatollah. First of all, nobody has seen the Ayatollah. Chances are we're not going to see the Ayatollah. We're not even, when the Japanese at the end of World War II heard for the first time the voice of their emperor in the history of Japan telling the people to lay their arms down and surrender to the Americans, that's the moment we need to have right now in Iran. And until that happens, and I've said before, they're not going to surrender. We have to continue to bomb them into oblivion because that's the only thing they understand. That's what brought them to the table in the first place.
Yeah.
So, you know what? The straits are closed anyway. So at this point, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Finish the job.
Yeah.
The sooner that happens, the sooner the world goes back to normal.
Yeah, I tend to agree there, but I think the funny thing about war is your aim is always not met. You like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to bomb them back into submission. Maybe that will make them more hardened. Who knows? It seems to be the
Mhm.
blockade is working, and I think they're going with what's working right now. Time is not, even though Trump says I have time on my side. He really doesn't. The world economy doesn't. And so that worries me as well. I never thought he should have taken the foot off the gas because that's all they respond to is
That's right.
is violence. But now that it's the same thing with I didn't agree with the decision to go to war. So my thing now is I'm behind the president and our efforts against Iran, but I don't always necessarily agree, and so I'm no expert, but I know
Correct.
that time is not on his side, and if he could come to a deal, if he could make this work, and I think we are close. Oh, the only reason is because of the blockade is really what seems to be hurting Iran, and they can't live with that because the regime will collapse if we keep this blockade there for a year, but everyone will suffer as a result. So
Mhm.
it does affect prices. I'm not happy about this at all. I mean, Trump is he thinks he could fix anything. He might win on this in the long run anyway, but I mean, one of the things we're worried about is obviously the economic recovery. It seems to be chugging along, but also the midterms. And I think we need to get to this yet because this is going to take up, I think, most of our time tonight. The Dems are really scared about their chances in the midterms. You started talking about Tallarico. We had Ken Paxton, the upstart, defeat one of the last Rhino Republicans in the Senate. When the last,
Oh, he didn't just defeat him. He bitch slapped him.
yeah, yeah, it was
He kicked him to the curb.
it was a quite a different outing than what we saw on primary day, where they were basically tied neck and neck with that third party candidate or the third Republican candidate,
Wesley Hunt. Right.
Wesley Hunt, right? And so, and then Trump had to come in his endorsement, and it's the 20 something points that Paxton won by. Um, and we looked at Tallarico. Do you think this low T Tallarico? Do you think he has a shot? I mean, the Dems are really back on their heels, and that obituary of the 2024 election didn't really help.
Well, it didn't really help because they said we don't want to accept it. The great thing about doing obituary reports after a national campaign failure is to see. I'll give you a perfect example. The Republicans went through that twice in the first 25 years of our of this. I'm sorry, of this century. After they had their asses handed to them by Obama, there was an obituary. And there was another obituary after Romney lost to Obama in 2012. And what the Republicans found is that, you know what? It's not that people don't like us, it's that they don't trust us. They don't trust us because we're gentlemen Jims. We refuse to get down and dirty and fight for what the grassroots has been demanding for 40 years. You know, I don't want to go back again to the Reagan years. I do that too much. But we were told in 1986 by the prior generation of rhinos, I mean Bob Dole, okay, and Bob um, Bob Walker, I think was his name, the leader in the House. We're going to give the president, meaning Reagan, what he wants. He wants a secure border. We're going to secure the border, and we're going to end illegal immigration. And it never happened. It never happened. And then fast forward to where we are now. Why is it that Trump is what, 38-0 when it comes to every candidate that he has thrown his name behind for either House or Senate? Every single candidate for House or Senate that he endorsed has won so far. Why is that? Because we can't speak to independents and Democrats, but the people in our party, the base of our party, whether you're MAGA, whether you're America First, or whether you're just someone who goes into the polling booth every 2 and 4 years, they see that promises made, promises kept. Now, the one thing that he hasn't kept his promise on is low gas prices. We know why. And I think he has done a very poor job of coming to the American people and saying, I know what you're going through. To take a line from Bill Clinton, I do feel your pain. I do know what you're going through. And I know it's a sacrifice, but it's not half the sacrifice of the men and women that are serving overseas, defending us right now, and the sacrifice of their families. So let's do this. Let's all pull together. This is something where we as a country lose if we fail at this mission, whether you support my decision or not. If he had done something like that even 2 weeks ago, there'd be a different attitude in the country. And that's why I'm saying the Democrats still haven't figured this out. They keep pointing at Bad Orange Man like he's the Pillsbury Doughboy, and they keep punching their index finger in his stomach, and he keeps laughing at them. Go ahead, throw all your daggers, all your swords, all your torches at me. In the meantime, everyone I have endorsed is winning, and if we get more MAGA and America First in both the House and the Senate, and keep in mind, Rudy, even with the backstabbing in Georgia, in South Carolina, in Indiana, we are still going to end up with anywhere between 10 and 19 additional seats this year, just based on reapportionment. Okay. So that's why the Democrats are scared, because they're not running on anything except Bad Orange Man. And nobody wants to listen to that. Because the bottom line is, if you didn't support Trump in 2016, if you didn't support Trump in 2020, and if you didn't support Trump 2 years ago, you sure as fuck don't care about supporting him right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, you're against Bad Orange Man. What are you going to do for me? How are your policies, what are your policies that are going to make my life, that is going to make the life of my children, that's going to make the life of my exterior family and my friends and my neighbors better? They're not coming up with any solutions.
Yeah. No.
They're still talking. You know what they're still talking about? They're still talking about 56 genders.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You keep talking about 56 genders. You keep talking about Palestinian independence. You go right ahead and do that, because the average American ain't buying that shit, because that has nothing to do with how my life as an American is going to improve between now and the first week in November.
Yeah.
But now, what do the Republicans do?
Right.
You know,
Right.
John Thune, if we don't get rid of that piece of garbage, even if we have 60 votes in the Senate come November 5th, okay, it ain't going to matter, because he's controlling the agenda in the Senate. And there's only so much Johnson can do sending legislation from the House.
Right. Right.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Thune is a problem. The rest of the establishment Republicans in the Senate are obviously a problem. Forget Turtlehead. I mean, he's going to be gone soon, but he's still causing problems. So the magnification is almost complete of Congress, and we obviously have MAGA, Mr. MAGA himself, Donald Trump, in the White House. Still,
Mhm.
bonus for Republicans, you might not have seen this, but crime is down to a 125-year low. And so the Republicans could certainly hang their hat on that. And even, what's his name? Is it Denton, the guy on CNN, the poll
Oh,
guy?
Harry?
Harry, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so he let loose another poll today, and it said, "Look at there we're up. The Republican Party is up 14 points on crime, and they have the Republicans and the administration has made some headway, not just nationwide, but specifically in D.C. And that is one thing certainly that people could say my life is better, and it is a combined approach of taking care of the illegal immigrant criminals, but also focusing on crime here as well. And I hope they do. And it seems like communities and municipalities are doing something about these street takeovers, which are more of a nuisance than crime, but
Right.
it's a broken windows thing. It gives an air of
Right.
lawlessness. And so we don't need to be bringing up our teenagers in this kind of lawless fashion. So there is something that Republicans can hang their hook on, certainly, and the magnification of Congress is happening. Our cost of living is still high. Sure, a lot of that base is still from Joe Biden. But we can pile on the Democrats, specifically about Memorial Day. So we had Jacob Fry in Minneapolis dedicate his Memorial Day speech not to fallen veterans, but to George Floyd. We had in New Jersey there at Delaney Hall, the ICE
Andy
facility.
Kim.
Yeah, we had Andy Kim, and of course we had Mikey Sherrill, who is a veteran herself, go down there with. Speaking of lawlessness, to the people there causing a disturbance and fighting with police, federal police there. Why would politicians go and join them? So, uh, as you mentioned, can you explain this stupid Democrat behavior?
Well, it goes back to what we just talked about five minutes ago. Rush Limbaugh used to say, when somebody's making an ass of themselves, get out of the way. And they're making not only asses of themselves, they are being humiliated by their own base. Their own base is saying, what are you doing? How is this going to change the reality of where I live? It's not going to. That's number one. Number two, as far as Cheryl goes, she should be humiliated for her actions on what is the most solemn day of the year for veterans all over our country. Most people, unfortunately, it started with our generation. Most people today don't recognize the true meaning of Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not a day that we're supposed to go out and get drunk and gorge ourselves on hot dogs, hamburgers, and apple pie. We're supposed to enjoy that day, but we're supposed to remember the sacrifices made by others so that we could enjoy that day. And for a governor, especially a governor who served in the military, to behave so dishonorably and so disrespectably towards those who have shed blood, many of whom never came home standing. That's disgusting. Now, again, where was the Republican Party of New Jersey when that happened? There are Republicans in the state house and in the state senate Why aren't they taking her to the woodshed for that? You know, the one day you could avoid making yourself look like a disrespectful, dishonorable, and certainly unpatriotic bitch was Memorial Day. And yet you thought this would make you look good. They keep doing this. And so we should applaud them. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. But in the meantime, our team better get its shit together and say, this is why you need to vote for us, because we have already accomplished these things. Under the leadership of Donald John Trump, we've accomplished XYZ. You know, big, beautiful bill is only one thing. We have energy policy. We have defense policy. I'm sorry, war policy, because we don't have a Department of Defense anymore. We once again have a Department of War. So, and we have real leadership in the Pentagon now, okay? Not just Petey, but it starts with his attitude and the type of attitude he wants to see from the top brass in Pentagon, starting with the 4 stars and going all the way down to the most junior second lieutenant. Okay, that's what they want to see. That's what they, meaning the White House, wants to see. What else are you going to do? How are you going to get inflation back in check? Well, you know what, Rudy? We already said it twice during your show tonight. You got to get oil prices under control. Yes, they are below $100 a barrel. It ain't good enough. Until they get down below 70, you're not going to see the cost of a gallon of gasoline come back down below $3 a gallon. Hell,
and you're
we're
gonna
not
have,
even paying.
yeah, you're gonna
We're
have
paying 4.
yeah, you're gonna have a 6-month lag plus. So
Right.
even if things go back to normal, we're still gonna have residual effects for months and months and months. So I mean, the Trump, I imagine, is angling. I think he got lured into something that he didn't understand the gravity of, and he's trying to find his way out. But he's not going to do it in weakness. He's not going to
Put his tail between his legs.
right,
I
like
agree.
Joe Biden did in Kandahar, not Kandahar,
Well,
but Kabul.
I do want to address what you just said. I don't think he was led down the primrose path. You have to look at his position for the past 40 years, starting with what he said during the Reagan years. You know, he was like H. Ross Perot. Everybody, well, anyone our age
not
or
everybody.
older remembers Ross Perot.
Yeah.
You know,
The giant sucking sound.
there you go. And he was right.
Yeah,
Wasn't
he
he?
was. Yep. Oh,
He
for
was
sure.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so where we find ourselves now, it's vital to understand that this is a policy he has embraced for 40 years. And somebody recently, maybe it was Bongino, I don't know, I saw it on somebody's podcast last week. They showed the clip of him, and then there were many clips to choose from on Oprah back in the 80s when he had greasy hair instead of bleach blonde hair. And he said, not that I'd ever want to be president, but if I were someday to be president, I would make sure that Iran could never get their hands on a nuclear weapon. If I ever had the power and the authority, I would see to it. So all this bullshit that I've been forced to listen to in podcast land and in newspapers and
Not
on radio.
here. Not here, brother.
No. But you know, I've told you many times. I listen to several podcasters, national podcasters.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. No, they're saying that that Trump never said that that this was against campaign promises. He's been talking about Iran for some time. There's no love lost here. Certainly,
and
with Trump going
and
after Iran, and he said he took this stance a long time ago. Absolutely.
and so he's following through on it. What else has he already followed through on? Oh, that's right. Maduro is now sitting in a jail cell because he said, I'm not going to put up with this. And now you got Raul Castro. God, how old is that man? He's got to be close to 90 already.
No,
Okay.
94. Yep.
There you go. 94. Okay. So he can barely wipe his ass anymore. And Trump is saying, your last days, I'm going to see to it, is spent in a jail cell for what you did to 4 Americans. And in accomplishing that, he's going to also help the Cuban people be free again. You know, we've got the USS Nimitz and its task force right here in the Caribbean right now. They're not parking that task force out there just to waste gas. That's for sure. It's there for a reason. They're sending a message to the Cubans. You're going to give us Raul, or we're going to come take them.
Yeah.
And if we come take them, you don't want to know what it's going to be like when you have to deal with the pitchforks and torches of your own people.
Yeah.
And so that's what the negotiations between Radcliffe and Marco have been all about over the past 4 weeks. You know, they're trying to give the Cuban communists an opportunity to walk away from unilateral control gracefully. But the one thing they have to give us in order to avoid us taking them is Castro.
Yeah.
He has to pay for his crimes.
Yeah.
And so you look at that, you look at Maduro, you look at his actions in Iran, he telegraphs everything. That's
Yeah.
why I say I don't think the man would ever play poker because he doesn't bluff.
Yeah.
He just tells you, I got a great hand. You got no cards.
You got no cards, right? Exactly. Well, I think he's going down a checklist, and what what I mentioned earlier today on my show is that sometimes you have to you know, break some things. He has a checklist that he wants to go down. Some things he can finesse, other things. But as far as this world order is, he's smashing it up. He is going to smash it up and reorder it in a way that benefits the United States. And some people just don't understand that. That, first of all, we have to get the communists out of the hemisphere. We have to check China. And Iran is about checking China, obviously. Now the pundits on TV are finally catching up to what I said day one. I go, this is about China. And so this reordering is hell for the globalists because it's counter to their agenda, where they wanted to have a more global socialist state. And that doesn't look like it's going to happen now. So everything he's doing is setting up America for success moving forward for the next century, perhaps. I mean, they talked about Project for the New American Century, and they went into the Middle East, but they didn't do anything about China, which was a mistake.
Well, you remember, it's exactly 100 years ago that we experienced the first golden age of America.
Right.
People forget about that. And here we are again. He is setting the country up to be, start as much as people like you and I really don't like. Some would say you and I have a deep hatred for AI because we know what this means long term. The fact of the matter is he's setting us up, somebody, meaning there are two competing systems for AI. There's us and there's China. Same thing happened with cellular 5G service. A lot of people forget about that. Okay. 15 years ago, there was a big battle between us and the Chinese for which system was going to be used around the world. And it turned out to be the American system. And this is exactly what Trump is doing right now when it comes to AI, whether people like you and I like it or not. He's positioning us to be the baddest, biggest dog on the block when it comes to that technology.
Yeah. And
for better or worse.
Yeah, and for worse probably, and I agree with that. But I sort of liken it to what happened with the Soviet Union. Is how are you going to progress with nuclear weapons things that people don't want? How are you going to progress technologically with stuff that people are against? What you
Mm-hmm.
do is you leak it to your adversary, and then you have a war over who's going to do it better, faster, as you just explained. And that's how you move the technology forward. If nobody wants it, you could just say, well, we're not going to let China have it. We're not going to let China win. And in the 50s, we're not going to let the Soviets win and have more nuclear weapons. So we're going to have more nuclear weapons. You know what I mean? So it's a like a
It's a good
yeah,
analogy.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a false dichotomy there, because we
Hmm.
don't want it. I don't care if you know, do I want China to have it? No. Do I want America to have it? I think the genie's out of the bottle now, and I think we have to
Right.
gird our loins and stop giving ourselves up to technology. I mean, there have been generations already that have been absorbed by the Borg, and they don't know anything else except a cell phone in their face, but they don't even
Right.
know what the social media is doing to them psychologically.
Right. Right. No, it's a brave new world, and I don't like what's becoming of it.
Yeah.
And I think you do a really good job of trying to inform your audience to all of this. Look, you've been preaching this from your your uh, your altar now for the nearly 4 years I've listened and watched your show.
Yeah.
um, and you've been proven right. I don't want to give you the Nostradamus crown. I don't want to, sound like an ass kisser to you, to the rest of your audience. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these things that you have pointed out to your audience, you were able to point out to your audience because of all the time you research. You know, you do the things that I would love to do if I had the time to do it. And please forgive me for bringing up his name again, but Rush Limbaugh would say, "I do all the preparation in my show so that you don't have to take the time to
Yeah.
read or watch the Sunday shows. I'm doing it for you, and I'm providing it to you on my show."
I would
And
be.
and you do a better job of that because you have the power of video to go along with audio.
Yeah.
Limbaugh was a radio man. He didn't like doing podcasting. And so that makes you more effective. But
Yeah.
getting back to the point, you were right. You're not the only one who was right, but you focused on
Yeah.
certain things and you came forward with the information you gave. And that's what I suck at. But then again, you are a media guy. I'm not.
Yeah. I don't
You
think.
provide all the source material.
Yeah. I don't. It's what I do every day anyway. So I'm just whether I'm putting it on. I thought might as well put it on the air because I'm doing it anyway. I read the news every day. I watch the news every day, and reading it is more important, I think, than watching it. But the thing with AI, it's only been 18 months. It's a little over almost 2 years, right?
If we
AI
could measure,
AI
if
hasn't been out
sorry,
of the bottle for that long, and look where we are already.
if we could, as laymen, be able to measure the milestones that AI makes in advancing its intelligence every day, people would be in awe. I don't want to say in awe, but they would be, in my case, I'm frightened by it
Yeah,
because we're getting to the point where all the science fiction writers, whether it was Vonnegut or Asimov, or there's two others that I wanted to mention, their names slipped my mind right now, but all of these science fiction writers of the late 18th, early 19th, and mid 19th, I'm sorry, early 19th, late 19th, early 20th, and mid 20th century science fiction writers have turned out to be so called soothsayers. Everything they said would happen has happened.
yeah.
Orwell, 1984, all of it.
It's
You can't go anywhere anymore, Rudy, without being tracked by government. Whether I can't pick up my phone because I'm using my phone right now. Whether it's your cell phone, whether it is your IP address, whether it is your fucking car, they know everything
yeah,
about you.
yeah,
There are no secrets anymore.
It's just
1984 has come and gone. We're already here.
yeah, it's the surveillance, and then on the other side is the actionable, is what they do with the surveillance once they track you and find you, and
Right.
that's the scary part. Yeah, it's been part of the human consciousness for a long time. I think it's put there by a certain fallen angel, but I don't want to go down on that deep path. But it's been there in the human mind, and I think it's part of history. At least some of the elite believe that. I guess aliens, the giants, the Nephilim, whether it's real aliens or it's metaphysical spirits, fallen angels, we don't know. But it seems to be that a lot of people believe in it. The people that you wouldn't think believe in it, and that's why I say organic or synthetic. Take your pick. I'm going to go with organic. Hey Perry, I think we're going to leave it there. You got any last words for us before we cut out?
No, I think we covered everything you and I wanted to say tonight, and I'm looking forward to us finding at least 4, 5, 6 topics next week
Yeah.
to entertain your audience.
Yeah, we covered a lot today. Thanks for joining me tonight, Perry. Episode 146, Tuesdays with Perry. We'll talk next week, my friend.
Sounds like a plan, Rudy. Have a great night. Looking forward to next week, and take care.
All right, you too. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There goes Perry, episode 146 of Tuesdays with Perry. I appreciate him joining us tonight. We covered a lot. We had about 5 things we wanted to get through, and we got through that plus more, a little talk about AI there at the end. Thanks for joining us tonight. Join us next week, episode 147 of Tuesdays with Perry next week, and we'll try to get it done on Tuesday next time. Otherwise, check me out tomorrow, 10 a.m. live stream, Rudy's Revelation, and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. live on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X. You can also find me on social media, Getter Minds, Substack, True Social. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.